Well, I want to talk to you guys about this thing, this pot metal thing that Volkswagen has. A couple things about it real quick. I cut this hole open just to see if this guy says that there's a spring and a pin inside here, and if you take this thing out, then it frees this thing up and it works. That doesn't work, just so you know. I just wanted to get that out there. I took this cap off, and it's still frozen. It's frozen inside. There's something inside here that is precisely designed, as Volkswagen designs things really precise, so that when something just goes very, very slightly wrong, it fails. So that's their problem that they have sometimes. So anyway, if you have a problem with your ignition sticking and your ignition key either turns on and it won't turn back off, or you can't get the key back out, and you've tried wiggling it all the time, a bunch of different ways, and you've tried turning your steering wheel and making sure it's in park and all that stuff, more than likely you've got this sucker here failing. What mine did is, when I put my key in the ignition, which I've already replaced the part now, there's a video on YouTube that shows how to replace it pretty nicely, so I wasn't going to comment on that, but I wanted to make sure that you know that, if you're going to do this on the road, I'm just going to make a couple of a video on a couple things on how to improve what the other guy's doing. I saw a couple things that might help out if you're going to do this job. If your key turns to, like mine just turned about to right here, it would turn on to unlock the steering wheel, and the radio would turn on, which I don't have my battery connected, so my radio isn't turning on. It would turn on to right here, and then that's as far as it would turn. I could wiggle it all I want. I could do anything I want to. It's not the lock cylinder. It's the piece that goes between. There's the lock cylinder on this side, and then there's the ignition switch on this side. So this sucker, it goes bad. So they're dealer only, or you can get them on eBay. They're about $140 today at the dealer. And if you get them on eBay, I saw them for $45, but honestly, I didn't have time to wait. So I ordered one for my other car, because if it goes out, I'll have one here for $50 versus $140, but I didn't pay, of course, that much. You can always ask for a shop discount, a little key thing to do. If you're down there, wait, you don't have a shop? Well, yeah, I have a fleet of vehicles. Oh, okay, maybe we'll help you out. little thing I use, or I can get it online for 20% off. Can you guys do that? All right, okay. Usually they'll do it. So I didn't tell you that. So anyway, this is the thing that goes bad. There's a couple things to know about it. If you do happen to try and take this circuit board out itself, and to reach, because there's a couple of clips that are really hard to reach. They're inside here. If you decide to take the circuit board out, you can unclip those a lot easier. However, the pins are very fragile on here, and you can break them off super, super easy. In fact, the ones that are right here that go to the airbag and the horn, I elected to do it that way and broke one of the pins off. But the cool thing is, let me show you. If you get the new part from the dealer, it comes with this little pigtail. So, and guess what? Those little clips are actually inside these connectors. So what I did is I took this connector here apart, slid the clips out, slid the pins out, because they broke off very, very easily. And I slipped it. In fact, it happened before I could even realize it was happening. And I slipped these little connectors out. If you can see, there's a couple missing on this one. And I slipped those out of there and soldered them back onto the board. Not too hard to do, but you got to trim them and stuff. You'll kind of see what, if you have that happen, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just a little thing that if you have that happen, you can try it. But So it's better to leave this all together and try and undo each piece, which is kind of ridiculous. It's a really terrible design, and why it's so difficult. It doesn't need to be. So they could have made all this stuff just clip all in with one connector. It would have been just fabulous if they did that. But of course, that's not Volkswagen's way to do things. So anyway, a couple other things. Getting the steering wheel off. There's the videos are really vague that show this. So, oh, that's why. So you put a screwdriver into this portion. You see how that's slotted right there? You put a screwdriver into that portion, and what you're doing is you reach behind because you cannot see what you're doing. Of course, you have to have it at 90 degrees, which it says in all the other videos. And you're pushing this clip over to unsnap it from this little setup on the steering wheel. That little, you're trying to unsnap it from that. So it helps you to kind of understand what you're doing. And none of the videos really clarify that, so I wanted to make sure that you guys can figure that out if you're doing this yourself. The other thing I ran into was these wonderful snap-off bolts, which you can get at the dealer. Of course, if you can ask for that discount. They're about $1.60 versus $5. So make sure you ask for that. Here's the snap-off bolts. Did I use them? Well, these are the new ones. So that tells you something. Because the way I look at it is, look, if somebody's going to break into your car and they're going to, first of all, they're going to have, to steal your car because you didn't use those break-off bolts and you used some regular 12 millimeter head bolts. Seem to fit okay. If you use 13 millimeter heads, you may not be able to get the socket in the hole right here. Okay, you may have to open that up a little bit, which you probably could do if you wanted to. But let's just say you didn't have the snap-off bolts on there. Of course, you'll probably have this happen again, and you'll be on the road somewhere like I was, and I had to have this towed back home, and that wasn't very pleasant. And if you're out somewhere, let's say it's going to cost you $1,000 at the dealer to have this done, so that's not going to be a very good day. So if you were to go and have the same bolts put in, but they had regular heads on them, then you could replace these. And the theory is that somebody could steal my car if I had that. Well, a fat chance. Okay, first of all, they have to have a chip key that matches your key. Then they're going to have to know, second of all, that you put the non-break-off bolts in there. Okay, and then they're going to have to undo this thing and lower it down and actually take the whole steering column apart, take the steering wheel off the car. Who's going to want to do that, to steal your car? It's like ridiculous. I don't even know why they put snap-off bolts in there to begin with, because it's just, to me, it's absurd. Why do all that? It's just to make it more difficult to replace, so that you got to go to the dealer. Put regular bolts in. That's what I would do. I mean, I'm just saying, look, do what you want to do. It says to put in the snap-off bolts, but regular bolts will hold the thing just fine. So that's up to you. Anyway, just a little quick thing to think about. Like I said, they'd have to have a chip key. They have to have all this other stuff. So the chances of having all that stuff, because it has the immobilizer and there's a code. When you put this key in, there's actually a electronic apparatus inside here that tells this ring right here that this is your car and this is the right key for it. So if they don't have that, they're not going to start the car. It electronically won't start. So anyway, all right. So that's a couple key things on replacing the infamous ignition switch immobilizer, or whatever you want to call it, steering lock. I don't know. Just pot metal junk is what I call it. Talk to you in the next video.